Alright, another draft physics video presentation. For the complainers, this isn't that complicated, right? So the first half of the video, I'll talk a little bit about Google and a little bit about Baldy Catz until he mans up and meets a portion of the contract he entered. And then the video will go back to, reading comments and finding other physics content to counter to truther on it, fact check. Um, and that's the routine. So if you don't like this part, then you just skip ahead in the video, okay? I'm not premiering this or something. It's not like I'm creating some problem where you can't see the video, and you can't go to any time code you want to. Yeah, you can. So anyway, yeah, I'm doing this because I have a reason for doing it. You couldn't figure that out. The reason is Google is a threat to my existence on this medium, clearly. They've done it before, okay? They've annihilated, exterminated channels with thousands of videos on them. Alright? It's just not some new thing they're trying to do. They're trying to, okay? And it was clear with the Do Not God channel. They exterminated it because they didn't like that title. Period. Okay, nothing more. All right, and this is all just to placate lowest common denominator morons. The whole medium is set up because it's run on commercials. It's run for morons. Morons make them money. Okay, so they placate morons. They give morons anything they fucking want. It's the whole point. And you don't think that's evil, that we have an infrastructure on the internet controlled by a corporation that only cares about morons? Morons that are willing to, squander their welfare check, on whatever some advertiser tells them to buy. Ball spray. It's a moron network. And they're trying to turn the whole internet into something focused on a safe place for fucking retards. Not a safe place for somebody with a brain. Alright, so anyway. I mean, the Baldy Catz thing, you don't see how this is an issue that needs to be, that should be pointed out, that these duplicitous hypocrites who couldn't give a fuck about any cause on earth except filling their own pockets with cash, okay, the whole shill organization is just, let's make fun of retards. Why don't they just do fail videos? I mean, why don't they just play clips of moronic skateboarders, ripping their dicks off? Why don't they do that? If that's all the show is, obviously. Baldy Catz video, the one he took down to, correct the demonetization so he could get his money. The video is just a fail video. It's just a video of fat people doing silly things. It makes it so much more fun when they're fat. If they're overweight, it just makes it so much more fun to watch. I mean, it's this is a mockery of intelligence. This is what intelligent people do now on the internet. They're impotent, so they don't watch porn. No, instead they watch fail porn. That's their big fun for the day. This is pathetic. Alright, and so I'm going to point out how pathetic it is that intelligent people look like fucking morons. And now maybe I'll play the Brian Greene video, because it's like he's a fucking I can't even say like a first grade teacher. It's like elementary. It's like what do you call that? Nursery school. He's got to be all animated, and he dresses up like things, and it's lower than Barney the dinosaur. It's somewhere between Teletubbies, Teletubby science, and Barney the dinosaur science. It's right in between those two. And as intelligent people, you're proud of this? Fuck. If there's any intelligent people that ever, get anywhere rational on YouTube, they're too distracted by their fail porn. Yeah. Oh, he's such a good jokester. So yeah, all right, so do Google first, right? So these stupid moronic people do these videos live, with all these people apparently who have nothing to do with their life, but wait for something to happen in these incredibly boring conversations of where a group of people get together and talk about how cool they are. When they do this shit, this chat crap, okay, that's just a bunch of, haha, 17,000 skill points, blah, blah. They're like it's a video game or something. I don't know. But it's the most retarded video game ever. It's not like Asteroids or something. No. It's some retarded game, where you type funny or you spell a word wrong or something. It's really fascinating. So anyway, in this crappy chat, the troll, okay, the one that people like Stephen Bro admire, because he's such a retard, and these other assholes. As I pointed out to you assholes before, if I sue, if I have to go after the cowboy, it doesn't cost me anything, really. It's just a little more printer ink to add your names as co-defendants. So keep fucking with my doxing information. Just keep fucking with it like you own it or something. You don't. It's clearly against policy. You're not going to be able to explain to the judge. Just think to yourself for a minute and just realize, okay, so what if a judge asked me, why did I use this person's real name in that context? Of what value was it? What information value was in there? What was I doing for any audience member? And did I hear him explicitly say, all you're doing is harassing the other person who lives in this house? And by the way, it's a girl, and you know how they are, right? The bug gets in the house and they'll fucking sledgehammer the whole house to kill it. So, just letting you know, cowboy, you want to get sued, you're creating a person who's in the mood. So keep doing it, fuckhead. I mean, it's just, Well, anyway, so the assholes in the Google's moronic chat, okay, posting my name, her name, my father's name, all kinds of names in there, right? Just doing his little jerking off, in its raincoat, trying to, playing, just playing with the fire. So just giving more and more evidence, of course, but I mean, anyway, so I asked these people to block him. Okay, he's posted my, doxed me. They do nothing. I ask them again. They do nothing. Oh, and then they start saying, then they tell me, PM me. And I have to say, what are you talking about, PM? There's no PM on YouTube anymore. Right? So, that means I have to have a Discord account. PM him at Discord. So it's a YouTube chat, and I have to PM him at Discord. With screenshots. yeah, I was supposed to take screenshots of everything? Oh, I didn't know I was obligated to do that. I mean, just too stupid. Alright, so Google has no reporting system, right? You report and it says, yes, they're personally harassing, but they don't have a category for it. Yeah, it's doxing. I mean, like, can't I just hit the doxing thing and you don't let the guy comment because he's causing real trouble? It's real malicious behavior. The report doesn't do anything, doesn't mean shit to YouTube. So anyway, but the key thing, the key point about Google in this case is they took away the feature where you can go to the person's channel and report the channel. Why would they take away in the chat your ability to see the channel of the person making these stupid moronic comments? Why would they take it away? Why is that a negative feature, accountability? It just doesn't make any sense at all, right? I mean, what sense does it make to allow chatters to just freely talk shit? Oh yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, it's a perfect place for somebody who wants to break the rules to break the rules, right? So anyway, another funny thing in there is that there's a guy in the shills who's called Gary. But anyway, so these are the people that are so sensitive about the Holocaust that you can't deviate the tiniest bit from their story, right? So if you deviate from their story, you're an evil motherfucker that has to be sanctioned. You have to not just be told you're evil. It has to be rubbed in your nose by being, disenfranchised from equal rights. You no longer have equal rights. And right in the chat, the troll who's worried about Jewish reputation. He's so upset about how people are being insensitive somehow. He posts a joke about transsexuals, like some sort of crude thing about missing their balls or whatever. And the Dick Dawson guy laughs at it. So I'm just saying, what are their standards? So, let's go back in history, right? The homosexuals, the defectives of any kind, that anybody who deviated from a proper, upright German citizen, right? I mean, Hitler hated all these deviants. Those were all people that were getting gas too, apparently, right? Or do they think they didn't waste gas on the homosexuals? They just, crushed them in a garbage compactor or something. What's the double standard? What's the bullshit story? So these are people that are victims of the same kind of abuse, and you're making jokes about it. It's okay to make jokes about it. You don't have all this hypersensitivity anymore all of a sudden. So anyway, what? They're just such hypocrisy. So anyway, but yeah, clearly Google couldn't give a shit, okay? Morons are what it wants on the website. Everybody should understand that. It wants them on the whole internet. It wants people who think advertising is a brilliant idea because it's so informative. It does so much for us as consumers to have the producers compete with each other in costume, okay, do pantomimes about how great their shitty products are, right, to lie to us, right? That's what they want. We shouldn't have an internet where we actually get to see, well, what do they pay their employees and what are the working conditions like and all. No, we shouldn't make informed consumers. We should be completely uninformed consumers, because that's the goal of the internet, is to make people dumber, not smarter. That's the goal of their internet. That's the goal of Google, okay, is to feed the idiocracy. It loves idiocracy. Idiocracy is big money for Google. Smart people, not so good, okay, because they don't pay Google for nothing. They're not interested in doing that. They use Linux, to go back to a Microsoft argument. Yeah, they have no interest, okay, in financing Bill Gates's activities in the multiverse, or these two shysters that contrive this big lie of a non-commercial alternative. What a pile of shit. Yeah, the most commercial company in the world, in the universe, right? Created by two assholes who promised you a non-commercial alternative. And you people eat this shit up. Alright, so that's enough of the Google commentary. So, Baldy Catz, again, he can be done with this if he just fulfills one little tiny part of his contract with me. And that is to provide me one video link, okay, to an analysis of the double slit experiment by a physicist. Okay, that is a lecture or a presentation or whatever, a documentary and whatever, that's actually accurate, where the physics is actually explained accurately and consistent with a wave theory. Yeah, so it has to be both accurate and it has to show you where a wave was involved somehow. Yeah, those two things have to be in the video. And if he can't produce it, he just has to admit, that's right, I can't produce anything to counter your argument. You are correct, they are all full of shit. So either admit that the physicists are all full of shit, they can't accurately describe a two-slit experiment, or produce the fucking video. There, that's all. And then I'll be done with you. Okay, then you can just be a regular shill. I'm certainly not done with the shills. I mean, they're clearly, this is just an evil thing. They call, this is all entertain, whatever, what do they call it? Edumatainment. We educate by being, fucking idiots. Yeah, right, that works. No, it doesn't. You're just feeding the idiocracy also. Make all the dumb people think they're smart because they know some physics now. Not even close. Anyway. So is there anything else to have to say about that? I guess not. So we'll do comments. All right. So, I mean, some of this I'm not too, so Dave is sort of making fun of Farley making jokes in the chat. So he says, and frankly, I'd rather sit back in my comfy chair and concentrate on physics. Yes, so would I. But the fact is you have to do it in this environment. My count has now been struck, okay? This means I'm in danger. I've seen it before. I'm just telling you, this is how they do it, right? They give me a strike. They disable my ability to function. And then they give me 2 more strikes, and I'm out. The Do Not God channel was eliminated in 12 hours. From first strike to 4th strike or whatever, it was 12 hours. All right? There was no violations of anything. And I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't stop anything from happening. So it's a real threat. Okay, if not for the sake of getting back to coherent accents. Okay, fine. I'm not much of a fan of jokes. I'm really just not. I mean, I know I tell some, but I'm just not a fan of them. Okay, I tell them because that's sort of, I guess, it's the people I was around. Having a little bit of a dry wit, was seen as a character asset, in conversation, being interesting. But frankly, I wish I was a more clinical person. So these jokes are okay, but but you make a joke with in dumb ham. So again, I've never blocked anybody for saying in dumb ham. Okay, so that's a lie. All right, I haven't even copyright violationed Farley's videos, which I could do anytime I want. So I mean, you're just such liars. As the I really just don't care. You want to waste your time photoshopping and putting music behind videos and doing all that kind of horse shit, and you think it's persuasive in some way? Fine. I know only a fucking moron would fall for that shit. I think those what you call Flusternwitzel or something, whatever. So yeah, hypocrite. Okay, it's fair. So yeah, I don't know what to say about it. Yeah, I don't have any use for either side of that argument. So both of those horses can fall off the track, and I'm not too worried about it. So we'll just remove that. So this weirdo, Jared Giltree, yeah, obviously, like I said, if you keep emailing me a bunch of your politics, why should I give a fuck? Exactly. I'm not terribly interested in what you think. I don't think your arguments mean anything. They're all arguments I've counter-argued hundreds of times. I am just assuming you're the anonymous asshole, right? You're emailing me anonymously. Okay, you don't even put in a return email address, and I'm supposed to take you seriously? Well, fuck you. Yeah, I'll just get rid of you. We're done. Alright. Won't have someone on who rejects some piece of history as it's taught, but they've had flat earthers on. Well, again, this really isn't about flat earth, as you find out. It's just about making fun of retards. The last Baldy Catz video, he's got videos of, again, fat women, raging. What does that have to do with flat earth? Nothing. I mean, we don't even know the context of the videos. There's some woman blocking a bus and she breaks the windshield. What the hell does that have to do with anything? Some other woman is taking a picture of somebody. What does this have to do with flat earth? Oh, that's right, nothing. It just has to do with fail videos. It just has to do with mocking people. That's all. There's nothing else going on here. Oh, so it's a big surprise that on planet Earth every day somebody does something ridiculous. Oh, big surprise. But the big surprise is that intelligent people want to see the video. That's the surprise. Okay. Let's see. Many of whom think the sun revolves around the earth. How much history does that disagree with? So obviously it's not about just disagreeing with any old history. It's the sacred cow argument or whatever you want to make. But obviously it's all for them. It's about what is important to me. Things that are important to me are important to me. Maybe it's important to some tranny person, but I don't care. It's a tranny person. I can make fun of them. Was burned at the stake. Yes, this is true that people in history have paid a real price for freely speaking and trying to make an argument, and the system, did worse than mock. But the fact is we're a long way from there, and we haven't improved that much. It's the real point. And idiots who are, sacredly devoted to the reputation of the Holocaust seem to not understand what the fucking Holocaust was, which was exactly the discrimination they wish to impose. That's how it starts. That's the first fucking moronic step. Yeah. Bravo for not being able to get the ABCs on that subject right. All right. Being a proponent of hallucinogenic model. Shouldn't they be intimidating that flat earthers who support burning heliocentrism, heliocentrism proponents at the stake and refuse to speak with them on those grounds? Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a stretch of an argument. But clearly the real point is to have a definition of the Holocaust where you can be an evil denier and yet believe in that it was horrible bigotry and believe millions have died because of horrible bigotry, and yet that's not good enough. That's the point I'm going to argue. How the fuck isn't that good enough? Yeah, that should get me membership in the Good Person Club. The fact that it doesn't is shame on them. Okay. Remove that since we dealt with it. So Zohar, who has, whatever, he's not thrilling me with his commentary lately. A guy who calls himself Baldy Catz, so yeah, we all know what he calls him on YouTube, really isn't worth your time, Gary. You're not really getting it, jackass. Clearly, you're not getting it. It's not about what Baldy's worth. It's about the fact that here you sit there and go to the trouble, and I went to some trouble to facilitate a conversation about physics, and so the person first insults me on my own video saying I'm misinformed. I ask him to prove it. He won't prove it, so then I keep badgering him to get an interview, a conversation, so he could prove that he knows more than me. And then he makes the agreement to do it, and then he finds this bizarre excuse to bail out instead of just saying I can't do it. I don't really know enough. I'm still telling the truth. He uses the fucking Holocaust as a fucking excuse to bail out. You don't think that needs to be talked about? Shit for brain? I think it's kind of important, jackass. Okay, also, sort of miss seeing you react to shitty YouTube comments. Well, I haven't done that, dumbass, so that doesn't even make any sense. I mean, why? What do you think I've done? I've read comments in every fucking video, you fucking idiot. Sorry, but fuck, that's stupid. So, you got what you wanted. Alright, this guy's on my side, so no point. A number of my subscribers have left messages claiming you are a Holocaust denier. Oh, okay, that's me. Yeah, so here's this guy's. Again, this is what we should do. We should go on the internet, find out who these people are, right? Unfortunately, he doesn't have any content, but he's the guy. Thanks for letting me know that you are a military-managed disinfo spammer. Same as 77th Brigade. Weirdo, traitor, conspiracy cats. You're really not very bright, are you? So this guy is totally insane. I mean, he's got a real, obviously delusional, schizophrenic, maybe, all kinds of problems with, this is the whole, whatever they call that. They're trying to integrate, people that are dysfunctional, and they're trying to, let's try to make them special and make them feel like they're part of real society. And they also don't want to fund real medical care, you know, for the mentally ill. And so they do this instead. They let them play on the internet. But clearly this person has a real frickin' psycho problem. Now, maybe he's not dangerous because he doesn't take this anywhere, but this is obviously the profile of, you know, people who assassinate presidents and stuff, people with some bizarre delusions, you know. And so instead of the system saying, let's help this guy, the shills will go out and mock him. You know, that's their plan. Let's go find people that have real issues and fuck with them. See if we can make them even more issue bound. So he says, given that you are shady anonymous mill-int fuckwits, this post is zero meaning. I mean, it's just, you know, he's just completely disconnected from reality, you know, sadly, tragically. So yes, I don't have any medication for you. I don't have any magic words to make it go away. All I can say is, you know, take some deep breaths, you know, maybe drink water instead of, you know, bug juice, and I don't know, take your pills. I don't know what to say. Yeah, I can't cure you, you know, through the YouTube mechanism. Just really can't calm you down and get you, you know, grounded. So anyway, all right. So I guess that's it. I'm done with the crap. Yeah, unfortunately. So yeah, eventually this should all go away. You know, this waste of time part of the program. You know, once a few intelligent people show up and they say, well, okay, you sort of have a point about this whole energy being, you know, the mechanism moves things, so I sort of get that. You know, then there'll be a conversation about, you know, the real universe and, you know, real facts and, you know, real rational interpretations of what the right answer is. So we'll watch the magic trick, you know, the experiment, and we'll see the little rabbit pop out of the hat, and we'll have a rational conversation about where the rabbit's been before it popped out of the hat. You know, and how they fooled us. You know, how that experiment was a little tricky. So, Brian Greene. So these are the intellectuals. These are supposed to be the really smart people of our civilization. And you just watch the antics of this guy and you're just like, what the fuck is this shit? What the fuck? Alright, that's what I do.
Equation in all of physics, E equals mc squared, establishing this deep, hidden connection between mass and energy.
Yeah, it wasn't very hidden, actually, right? So again, this goes back to, you could just kind of sort of figure it out yourself that, you know, if I took just solid little objects, and then I created some other thing that made the solid objects move, that every time the solid objects gained any movement, they would be carrying, okay, force. That is, the force never went away. The stuff that made them move never went away, even though it appeared not to exist anymore because they were blocking it. Well, they didn't just block it, they absorbed it, which means now when they show up, they're going to be full of energy. So obviously if there's stuff inside the atom that has any, you know, position relative to each other, any motion, that motion will be something you realize when the piece of matter shows up, so to speak.
Now, you should say to yourself, if there is such a unexpected nature to reality that we have missed through...
I just, you know, he's just so Captain Kirk, you know, it's just all of this incredible animation. We can't possibly know what we're talking about unless we emphasize everything. Because you're so fucking stupid, I have to animate everything with some kind of cartoonish behavior. This should be mocked. This is how smart people explain
our everyday experience. Why have we missed it? I mean, why aren't we aware?
Why have we missed it?
Aware of special relativity right in our bones.
Why can't we feel the fact that we are moving? Well, that's because every piece of us is moving, you idiot. How could I feel moving if all of my pieces are moving? There's no contrast. It's like, how can I see something if there's no contrast? Yeah, that's right, I can't. I can't see anything when there's no contrast. We feel things that are different than what the thing is already doing. You have to change something. If all the little pieces are doing the same thing, then they can't go, hey, you're different than me. I can feel that. I feel your difference.
And the answer to that is, when we look out at the universe, we recognize that there are a huge range of scales that constitute reality.
Okay, so this is like, there's one scale. There's the little universe. It's the only one. The only universe that's doing anything are electrons and protons and the force. That's it. That's the only universe that actually is doing physics. The rest of everything else is just doing the checker thing. That's the checkerboard. The checkerboard is the electrons and protons. Where the checkers get arranged on the board and they look like a ham sandwich, that's just an emergent thing. That doesn't have anything to do. The electrons and protons had to move into those configurations. They had to do the interacting. Okay, they created the image of the we're just an image, okay, of electrons and protons. They make the image, the electrons and the protons. One universe, that's all.
And we humans only have access to a very small part of that totality. So to get...
Yes, and that's just fine though, because the small part we have access to is so it's full of magnetism and electricity and light and all kinds of stuff that we can analyze. I mean, it's a ton of information. I mean, all kinds of things are all over the place, and we can look at them and watch what they do and see this. Oh yeah, there's definitely something going on there, gravity or something. Somehow it isn't moving just like me. These pieces inside of this thing somehow haven't been told that you're supposed to be going this way. They haven't been told. Or they're being told something else. Like they haven't hit the floor yet. Oh, fuck.
To get a feel for that, let's look at one axis, a length axis. And if you look at the scales that are out there in length, atoms, 10 to the minus 10 meter, viruses.
All right, so let's understand. That's the universe. Right down there, that's it. Okay, all the little elemental functions, the simple processes, the checkerboard rules are way down there. Okay, and it really does look that, the quarks and the muons and the tau fucktard and all the other little bullshit things they've invented. Those things don't do anything in any, we have to contrive their existence in the sense that they only exist for 1/zillionth of a second when we disturb an atom. And we don't get a clear picture of them, right? So we don't know. It's all bullshit. We know the real active players are electrons and protons, and that what they're active in is a field of force. That forces are something is constantly communicating the state of the universe to them. It's showing them an image of the universe. The universe is reflecting energy at them. And they're going to be affected by how much energy comes from one side and how much energy comes from the other side.
10 to the minus 8 meters, red blood cells, 10 to the minus 6. Single-celled organisms, there we humans are, 2 meters. The Earth, 10 to the 5 meters. Solar system, 10 to the 13. Galaxy, and on to the observable universe itself.
Length and bigness and blah 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 blah, right? So I don't know what the fuck this thing is. I guess that's the universe itself. So they drew a picture of that. Very imaginative.
A huge range of scales when it comes to length, and we humans.
So you really don't get that idea by looking at it this way, right? You don't really get how, whoa, that's really a big difference in size. The better example is to say something like, if I tied a string to, the moon, the difference between an electron and a blah, blah, blah is the electron is 1 foot of that string.
Really only have direct access through experience to a small part of that. And that's only the axis of length. Imagine
So there's more horseshit. We've obviously had pretty good access in the sense you drew all these goddamn pictures. So you were standing here and you were able to draw all these fucking pictures. So that's pretty damn good. We have lots of information. It's not up for a lack of information. It's for a bizarre need to just make up stories, that are more interesting than the reality. They have to turn everything into gingerbread and create little demons and gremlins and Mao Tao Baltons and, Wavicles and all kinds of bullshit.
we look at the axis of mass. There, too, we will find a huge range of scales, right? So if we go back and...
How huge is it? Double huge.
Look at atoms, they weigh in 10 to the minus 26 kilograms, go down to red blood cells, 10 to the minus 15. Humans, well, depends who you're talking to, but about, 100 kilograms or so. Solar system on to the entire universe, the observable part, 10 to the 52 kilograms. A huge range of...
I don't know why it's backwards. Yeah, that goes from the big things to the little things.
Scales in mass, we humans only have direct access to a small piece of it. One more access.
I don't even remember this part of the video. What the fuck happened here? This isn't the video I saw before. So this is a 2014 version. So, every year they do this thing. They actually have a university, right? World Science University. Sort of sounds like Trump University.
To look at is the axis of speed. So we humans, we walk around the world at certain ordinary everyday speeds. Sometimes you go into airplanes, but there's a huge range of speeds out there. The growth of human hair, that's pretty small. Human speed, typically, space shuttle, 10 to the 3 meters per second. Speed of light.
So the slowest thing they did was growth of hair. They couldn't find something slower like, the geyser that only shoots up the water once every 10,000 years, or, the age of the earth,
Light. That's a number that's going to come up a lot in our discussion, 10 to the 8 or so meters per second. The point is, in this spectrum of all possibilities, in length, in mass, and also in speed.
So this is just such a stupid way to think about it, okay? Because it isn't 3 dimensions. These aren't the real dimensions of the universe. So they don't have anything to, again, just forcing something to fit. They're taking these concepts and forcing them to have a symmetry with 3 other concepts. Forward, back, up, down, left, right. They're forcing it. And it really doesn't have anything to do with it. I mean, there's just no reason to force these correlations when the real correlation is electrons are negatively charged, protons are positively charged, and there's a force that interacts with those two, interacts in an inverse manner. It tells the electrons to go away, it tells protons to come towards. And that force could be understood as creating pressure, which means pressure in, away, low pressure, high pressure, creating gradations in pressure. And all it is whether or not you're reflecting something. So again, I can make the simple argument that I change what I tell the universe based on how I'm moving. If I'm moving away from you, I become invisible. I move towards you, I reflect twice as much light. Yeah, that kind of thing.
We humans occupy a tiny, tiny part. So our experience, the experience that has given us our intuition.
No, it hasn't. Okay, what has given us our intuition is that we have modified our perspective by using telescopes and by using microscopes and using other technical means to see things that are very far away from us. So we have completely expanded how much we fit into that world.
Is built up from a very limited sense of what is actually out there.
So again, this is just all part of this weird, bizarre storytelling, right? Now, whose benefit is this? So smart people haven't thought about any of this stuff? Is that what he's saying? Smart people never think about it. And I would argue if you're a smart person and you think about it, you understand that, no, if me does something, it's because the cells do something, and then the stuff inside the cell has to do something, and then you can figure out that no, I'm not really anything but a composite. I'm cars moving through roads in a city. You know, it's not made out of buildings and cars. It's made out of tires and engines. You know, I can break it down to the thing that has to be working. Everybody's car has to start, or there isn't all this stuff going on. You know.
Our intuition, which really has come in some sense from...
So more this word intuition, and the idea that we have some common intuition, that we just all commonly said, waves. I love waves. Everything's a wave. That's all our intuitions. All of us have the same something, you know, where we've all been programmed to see it all the same way. And some of that is true, apparently. Because obviously I'm sitting here as a dissident going, what the fuck? Why are all you people obsessed with these silly explanations? You have some intuition to think ESP is an elemental function of the universe, that particles can read each other's minds and states? That's your intuition? It's pretty silly.
Evolution, right? So we evolved out there in the jungle, and our intuition got built up in order that we can survive.
Ooh, so that's another. Wow, that was, I no one could ever explain that to me. We evolved here as machines? How incredible!
The survival value of understanding your environment.
So this is more crap, right? I mean, obviously the survival value is completely contingent on silly things working. Like, well, if you make the males bigger than the females, then they get rapey power. You know, different things like that. You know, that feed the engine. You know, you have to really want it. You have to be a risk taker to succeed. You know, you can't just hide from the bears. You have to actually confront them now and then, or you don't get to eat any of the raspberries.
It is what matters. We humans only have access to a small piece of the totality of what's out there. And there.
Oh, so again, so he said it over and over and over again. Somehow we lack information when we have so much. I mean, we got chromosomes. We got the little bits on the chromosomes. We have a ton of details to be able to understand this process that has led to the development of us existing with brains that are doing all of this fiddle-faddle that we call a consciousness, and that it's all just a bunch of mechanical processes. We're doing something in a different way than a computer does it, but we're not doing anything different than it does. We get inputs in, process, output. That's all it is.
For it would be surprising if what we have experienced really does tell us about the physics at all possible scales.
So that doesn't even mean anything. You know, obviously it doesn't tell us enough, and that's why your formulas are all garbage. Is because you're missing a few variables, and you really, you know, you're lacking a little bit of, you know, and you've created ones that shouldn't exist. Fake things like magnetic moments and whatnot.
In speed and in math.
And spin.
And it turns out that indeed it is the case that when you look at extremes of mass or length or speed, the world operates, the universe operates in ways that we are not accustomed to.
So says him. So I'm saying that yes, if you could actually see what an electron is doing, you'd perfectly understand. You'd say, oh, there's a bunch of this coming in from that side, and there's that coming in from this happens and this happens, and an electron makes a calculation. Essentially it's getting hit by something going this way, it moves that way, and then it gets hit by something going this way, and it stops moving, and then it has to wait for something else to hit it so it's going to move again. I mean, it's really going to be that simple. I mean, if you could model the real world of an electron. See, they won't just do that. They won't just sit there and put an electron on the screen and say, well, what's it doing? Well, it's obviously attracted to the protons because they have opposite charge. Now, you know, obviously that's, you know, we get into 2 + 2 + 2 physics. You really have to understand there's two forces for there to be inverse reactions. For protons to act completely opposite to electrons when confronted by the same force, you kind of have to understand there's got to be two forces, you know, that match the two kinds of matter.
If you are looking at extreme, say, a very small size, the new physics that comes into play is called quantum mechanics. If you
More bullshit, okay? It's the same, it's the same mechanics that is causing all these effects. Gravity, magnetism, electricity, all these effects can be understood. And especially the distinction between like electricity and magnetism. The effect can be understood that one clearly is a force that travels through space, magnetism, and the other is clearly a phenomenon happening in atoms. Atoms have to convey electricity, so electricity isn't, the same thing.
are looking at extremes of huge mass, the new physics that comes into play is the general theory of relativity. If you are looking...
So two completely incompatible notions of reality, quantum mechanics and general relativity, they can't be squished together. They don't make any sense independently, I would argue. They're both action without any energy. So relativity is a non-energy formula. It's this idiotic notion that somehow it's just magic. The electron knows space is bent and it somehow falls into the bent space. There's just no mechanism, no physical mechanism, no messenger, no energy involved. Again, it's some sort of magical message the sun sends to the earth saying, "Come to me." It's a vacuous explanation with no energy in it. And quantum mechanics does the same thing. They come up with this notion of a virtual photon as some carrier of information. It isn't the force itself. No, it's something that goes to the thing and tells it, well, pretend you were being hit by more force on one side than the other. It tells it to do the light bulb thing, Pretend you're a bunch of little tiny specks of dust flying out of the light bulb. And that's exactly the physics. So the physics exactly duplicates. If I was just to tell you, if I made a mechanical device that heated up and you could actually see the little pieces fly off in straight line vectors. It's exactly what a light bulb does. It exactly mimics the behavior of the light bulb, is that there is a bunch of little specks of shit flying off of the thing and they're at a frequency.
Looking at extremes of speed, how the universe behaves at very, very high speeds, then it is the special theory of relativity that comes into play. That is what...
So a bunch of horseshit for which they have zero evidence. Okay, so just understand, we can't see any of this stuff on the scale necessary. So we can't see what would happen to a laser if we move it the speed of light or half the speed of light. We don't have any experimental evidence to verify any of this horseshit.
We are going to be discussing. So in a nutshell, all of the discussion we are going to be having here is focused upon how the universe behaves at very high speeds. That is the special theory of relativity.
Alright, so again, I don't know why he prefaces with all this other horseshit when he's going to narrow the conversation to some notion that how the universe behaves at high speeds when the universe isn't moving at high speeds. All the matter in the universe isn't moving very fast. Just a fact. 99.99% of it isn't moving at high speeds. So what the hell is the conversation about then? The forces move the speed of light, and the matter bits are really hard to get to go to those speeds. You have to push them a lot.
Since speed is the fundamental core of what drives the special theory of relativity, let's start at...
It really isn't, in the sense that what really drives it is some notion that you can escape the fundamental point I just made, that if I'm moving away from you, I reflect less of the universe at you. And if I move towards you, I reflect more of the universe at you. Any light that hits me is going to get to you sooner. It's going to reflect off of me sooner, because I'm going to be in a different position relative to you. And the path length will be different. I mean, it's not that complicated. And there's no relativity theory that breaks that basic truth.
The beginning and ask the most basic question of all, which is, what is speed? Well, we all know the answer to that, but let's get all on the same page. So if that car, say, has a speed of 100 kilometers per hour, we all know what that means. If we look at how far it's gone divided by how long it takes it to get there. So let's say this is 1 hour journey.
All right. So what we do know about the real world is that we never start from zero. So the car is on the Earth. The Earth is spinning. And the Earth is also moving around the sun. And the sun and the Earth are both moving through the galaxy. And the galaxy is also moving through the universe. So we know we're not on some single flat surface. We're on a bunch of different surfaces of sliding surfaces, right? So if I put a bunch of plates with oil in between them, the plates could slide. You kind of understand that I can push some going one way and some going the other way, and they're all going different ways, and then the one at the top will just be doing something that'll be a composite of what all the others are doing. Okay, it'll just be what's left over. So that I would argue the truth would be, as you think of the car and you say, what are its individual pieces doing? What are its individual atoms doing in space? And you can understand that, yes, some are getting hit at this very moment and are going this way. They're jiggling up. Some are jiggling down. Some are jiggling sideways. Some are jiggling this way. They're all going different ways, and there's always just a net of all of that motion. So like a school of fish or something, you can understand that the school of fish can be moving this way, but the individual fish aren't all going that way, right? So it can go 2 miles an hour this way, the school of fish, but the fish are swimming 30 miles an hour, right? And every single fish is going in all kinds of different directions at any one moment. But the net, the total, if you count all the vectors and all the time that they spent going those vectors, if you take the net of it, you see, oh, there's a 2 mile an hour net left over. There's a remainder of unevenness in all the directions. In this direction, there's a few more fish going this way than this way or that way or any of these other ways. And the same thing can be understood about this. It all breaks down to that's the real motion. The real motion is that everything inside of something is always moving in the real universe. And we see the net result. So this idea that you're going to make this measurement of what the car is doing by comparing it to another moving object that it's sitting on is just pretty stupid. Because obviously both of those objects are moving through space. Both the sun and the earth are moving through space in a direction. Now neither one can see that movement by looking at the other guy because he's moving exactly the same way. So we can't see it, we can't feel it, we can't be disturbed by it. But it's real motion. Our atoms are really doing it. The school of fish is really moving in a direction. So at any one moment as that car travels, it isn't moving that path. It's moving a path in real space that's going to be a lot different than that path.
If it's going 100 kilometers an hour, we know that it will have traveled 100 kilometers in that hour. That's what speed is. So in essence, speed...
So again, the bits inside the fish aren't moving 100 kilometers an hour, right? They're not moving 2 miles an hour. The fish in the school of fish. Huh, that was interesting. What the hell? You just did that? Freaking quantum mechanical randomness. Oh, it probably wasn't random, Gary. It's probably your foot hit the fucking wire. Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe we should do that experiment over a few hundred times and see if it really was random. Yeah. Oh, was that really random? No, I don't think so. Okay, anyway. Try to... So, yeah, so the fish, this is what the school of fish is doing. This 100 miles an hour. Okay, that doesn't have anything to do with the individual fish who are moving much faster than that. The electrons and the protons are hot. They're moving, they're jiggling, the atoms, everything's moving inside of the thing moving that speed. All right, so those individual pieces are moving a lot faster.
Is nothing but distance that an object travels.
And the object is the key word here. What's the relevant pieces that are moving? It's the atoms. The electrons and protons are doing the moving. So if you're going to understand, calculate how fast they're going, you can't calculate it based on how much distance they traveled in a straight line, because you know the straight lines are going to be cut into little tiny pieces. there's lots of little straight lines, okay? So the total velocity of the electrons and the protons is going to be a much higher number.
Divided by duration. Now, expressed in that language, speed might seem like, I don't know, a kind of boring concept, a pedestrian concept. Why concern yourself with speed?
No, I see this is the whole thing of physics, right? The real point is my whole freaking argument is that they never sit there and they did all this imagining, and it's all imagining in the wrong direction. The thing to imagine is, what would my existence be if I was an electron? And so what's the electrons inside of that car doing? And that's the real consequential facts. Those are the ones that mean something. What are the elements of the car doing, not what the car is doing? I mean, you want to understand the school of fish, you have to analyze the fish.
The answer to that is clear if we recognize that distance is a measure that has to do with space. Duration.
Right, and what is in space, okay? Yes, this composite crap is in space, but you know that ultimately what is the smallest thing in the space? What is the stuff that's really feeling space, right? Without an atmosphere in the way, without a bunch of crap in the way, electrons and protons. They're the things in real empty space.
Is a measure that has to do with time. So if we find, as we are going to find going forward, that speed...
So speed, we know for all the forces is the same speed. It's the speed of force. So we shouldn't even be calling it the speed of light. It's a kind of an uneducated, archaic, appendix kind of way of describing the reality. Calling us an appendix, rather than calling us people or something. I mean, it's completely deceptive and it just confuses the truth to call it the speed of light when you know it's the speed of all forces. The forces move the speed. This is the speed of force. Now, if they said that, maybe your brains would start to get a clue that the matter is just a derivative of the force. The force causes the matter to move, nothing else. You have to apply a force. You don't apply a force, it doesn't move. So anything that's moving, anything that's going somewhere is going somewhere because there's more stuff on one side of it and less stuff on the other side of it. Matter is a dummy. Matter is a nothing. It has no impulses. It has no engines. It has no ability to go anywhere. It's a sailboat. It goes where the wind blows it.
Speed has unusual features. When the speeds involved get very big, near the speed of light, what we really will therefore be learning.
Really learning, not just a little bit learning, but learning a lot, it's all magical.
Is that space and time have weird, strange features. That is what?
Space and time are two different things. They're not weird things, they're just real things. Space is a place that stuff can happen in that's full of force that the matter has to interact with. That's what space is, okay? And time is just the rate at which everything happens, because everything didn't happen instantaneously. Because force doesn't move the speed of instantaneous, therefore there's a slow universe. Anything less than instantaneous is now slow. Yeah, now you have slow in the universe. So there's space and there's slowness. That's all there is. Stuff moves slowly. And that's why there's something to observe here. That's why there's something to watch happen, because it has to happen in sequence, because it doesn't happen instantaneously.
We are after. Okay, good. That's where we're headed. Let's start by first thinking about the non-strange features of speed, the features that we all hold in our intuition. So what are the basic features of speed? Well, first off, speed is a concept that even before Einstein was known is a concept that is relative. What do I mean by that? Well,
So again, this is just such dangerous rhetoric. Of course, we already know it's relative because we've seen things that you can change its relative speed, right? I mean, there's lots of examples of just even wagons, moving wagons and seeing how the ball's moving this way in the wagon. Well, it didn't really do that. It's still in the same place it was, okay? And all it did was roll. It spun. But it spun in space as you move the wagon. It didn't go anywhere. So so these were already concepts everybody understood. If you're up to speed, if you get into a stagecoach and they whip the horses and the horses start, well, you get thrown back in your seat and you move. But once you're up to speed, once it's going 30 miles an hour and everything's okay, well, then you can drink your tea and do lots of shit because everything in the stagecoach has been hit by matter that's moving, and the matter that's moving has now created a mechanism to impart velocity onto the other pieces. And so all the pieces in the coach now have velocity. I mean, this isn't that complicated. And they have to make it into some mystery to be solved. And it's just as, when you really look at the evidence, there's knife, there's glove, there's, raincoat, blood, it just adds up. So anyway, I think that's probably enough. We'll come back to this maybe. Like I said, the part I played didn't have this in it, but, it had lots of energy in it, though. Not a very good description of it, though. Because it's all got to be made important and emphasize the importance. Because the Wooiverse can't survive without our energy. Yeah. Don't starve the Wooiverse. Feed the Woo. We must have our delusions. We must aggrandize our mission. We must not realize we're just fucking robots. Stupid, fucking, idiotic robots. Fail robots. Anyway, till the next time and such. So forth and whatnot. As I endeavor to persevere, traveling through space and time.